Ladies and gentlemen, today is Tuesday, August 5th, 2014, and this is the KNKL SHOW, episode 190, where we learn to be better artists. I am your host, Keenan Lafferty, and today we are doing a tutorial on how to draw fat people. Fat on the body. And we are going to be taking a look at this right here. Right? We're going to be doing a little time-lapse thing, because I basically did my study session ahead of time. So I wanted to make sure I kind of knew what I was talking about, because this is a very, very important and tough subject to get into. But before we actually jump into the tutorial, we need to take a look at the lovely Lane, because you guys have been awesome and been submitting your artwork to the Facebook. So I want to say thank you once again for all of you who have joined us. For those of you who are still on the fence about joining us and submitting your art, please click the link down below and visit us on Facebook and come get some cookies. All right? And this great stuff, guys, as always. Really, really awesome stuff. I love seeing you guys improve. It makes me oh so happy. So, the first thing we're going to get into right now is we're going to be looking at the time lapse. And I'm basically just going to be pausing it and talking about some stuff as we go. So, the first thing that I'm doing is we're going to be focusing on girls today, because I feel that variation in the body of girls is something that is not and everybody says this, it's not represented enough, so that's kind of what I wanted to focus on today. Because I suffer from drawing the same body type on a lot of my girls. So I wanted to make sure that I demonstrate that today. So right now what I'm starting with is I'm just drawing a girl in a 3/4 perspective, basically how I usually draw most of my girls, like with this kind of athletic, kind of toned look to them. And then we're going to start adding on the body fat. And one of the things that I want you to notice first off is that, you know, how I'm drawing it in a 3/4 perspective, but I'm also drawing it in, we're basically looking down on the character. And the reason why I wanted to do this was to just show a little bit more of like what's happening in like the 3D space as fat goes onto the body. So one of the ways that I do that, right, is I just make sure I line up all of my body parts on the same lines. You can see there's a line going right through from that heel to that heel, that knee to that knee. So it's really easy to set up your characters when you think about it that way. And I always think about a plumb line, like dropping from the back of the head down to the ground, and that's sort of like my area of balance. So you want to make sure you don't put your feet out like way too far and make your character like fall back, or too far back and your character like fall on his face. So the biggest thing that I noticed while adding fat to these areas is that there's a few specific areas where the fat will like prioritize on the body, and it basically all branches out right from the midsection. It'll start kind of like in the stomach area, and it'll like go up to the boobs, and then it'll like branch out to the arms. But as it goes down your arm towards your hands, like the percentage of fat that forms there gets less and less and less and less. So and we'll go over that in just a moment. But you'll notice as I'm going through here, I'm just taking the old sketch, right? Taking the sketch that I did prior, and I'm moving it over, and then I'm just kind of like adding extra volume to each body part, branching down less and less down to like the toes, and then down to the fingers. So yeah, and this is actually a really fun exercise. I really like this a lot because, like I said, I usually don't draw stuff like this, which is why I was kind of hesitant to give a tutorial on it, because I'm like, well, I should probably know kind of what I'm doing, so I decided I would first like actually give this a go on my own. But it actually ended up not being that hard. I almost saw it as like the muscles. The muscles are basically just like getting extra mass added to them, but it's not hard mass. It's soft mass. Like, you remember we were talking last week about boobs? They're basically like sacks of fat, and they're being pulled down by gravity. So that's basically what's happening here. You're now getting extra mass, and it's all going to be kind of sagging down, being pulled down by gravity. So it's really cool. I really like it's a great exercise, and I really liked it. So yeah, and I also decided to like take my normal girl over here, like the usual thing that I draw, and then I like move it over. I'm like, okay, let's make her like even skinnier. Like, let's make her completely flat chested and like almost like Gandhi status, right? So we got Gandhi on the left, and now we got Big Mama on the right. And what's really cool actually is that I noticed after a certain amount of time, after a certain amount of fat gets on the body, it starts to do this thing where sort of like droop down, especially like, this is what I'm talking about, like on the arms, it'll droop down and then it kind of comes back in by the elbow. So we will take a look at that in just a sec. Let me make sure I have all my references and proper things up. Let's see. Yeah, I think we do. And then I just went ahead and colored them, kind of shaded them a little bit so you can see a little bit more of what's going on with the body. So yeah, that is basically it right there. So now what I want to talk to you guys about is something else, and pull up another reference really quick as we go on, and I'm going to show you guys basically that thing I was talking about, how the fat actually prioritize different parts of the body. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it, shall we? Okay, so let's start over here with this girl here. I'm going to make a new layer, and I'll show you an easy way to remember how the fat prioritizes where it will go on your body. Okay, so like I said, right in the midsection is going to be your number one priority. Okay, so this is going to be like shaded in really dark red. And same thing in the chest. Chest and stomach area are like number one priorities for where the fat is going to begin to form. Okay, then as it branches down, right, this is a really easy way to remember. Everything that branches off of your midsection, off your torso, it is basically going to gradate like the amount of fat that's going to accumulate there. Okay, so for instance, the thighs are going to be, again, very, very high priority. But then as you go down to the calves, you're going to have a little less priority. Okay, so let's make sure this is nice and red, shiny. Red and shiny. Then the calves have less. Okay? Again, same thing, right? First joint of your arm is going to be high priority. Second joint, not so much. Okay? And then also another really important thing to remember is the fat that actually will accumulate on like your neck area. This is actually one of the places where it's most recognizable to see somebody's weight, right? Because their face will begin to become more round. And so that's another very important thing that you don't want to forget. Similarly, like you'll notice as I barely portrayed it here, but like as you lose body fat, your face will begin to get more bony, right? You'll like see the cheekbones and everything will just be more defined. You'll see a lot more of the skeletal structure like going through the body. So just remember that. Remember that as your body parts branch out away from your midsection, the fat is going to accumulate less and less and less. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, right? Let's take a look at this girl right here. So just like I said, right? Here's the midsection. This is our high priority. And again, what you want to remember is that as the fat begins to, like it hits a certain point and it's all being pulled down, right? It's all being pulled down. So there will actually be a point where it literally like sags down like past the crotch area. So that's really interesting. And that's because the entire, like everything is being pulled down by gravity, right? Just like the boobs, just like we learned from last week. Okay, so don't forget that gravity because it actually makes everything look really cool. I actually really enjoyed doing this. This is a really fun exercise. Okay, and then you can see you got a lot in the thighs here, and then it still accumulates in the calves, but less, much less. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to draw a couple things live for you, a couple things that I've noticed that'll help you with your drawing of the fat. Let's see. Yeah, I'll draw it with that. Why not? And I specifically want to talk about this right here. What's happening on the arms there. I really, really like that a lot. So this is what's really cool, okay? So check this out. So you've got let's first off draw like the muscles of our arm, which we learned 2 weeks ago. Okay, so this should not be hard. Should not be hard stuff. And if you don't know what I'm doing here, then just go back 2 weeks and watch the tutorial. Okay, so you've got your muscular arm right here, okay? Mr. Muscular Arm. Okay, so it's going to be basically looking like that, okay? Try to draw it really quickly. But then what's really cool about once you start applying fat to the arm is it is going to, again, is basically going to round the muscles. Everything's going to start to become very rounded. And then it's going to start building off of this, right? So the fat is almost going to like build off of that. And it's all being pulled down, right? You want to remember that. It's all being pulled down. But what's really interesting is it almost like comes back and meets with the elbow joint, right? It's like it like fills and then it goes right back to the elbow. So it gives you like this really interesting look. Gives you a look sort of like this, okay? And you're gonna have fat again accumulating here. And it's rounding everything, right? Rounding. Let's not forget our hands. There we go. Yeah. So you just want to think about the muscles. I really just think about the muscles being enlarged and softened. Like everything's being softened. When it's really just, it's fat that's being added to it. So you get something like that. So you can still see the definition of the arm in there. You can still see the definition of some of the muscles within the arm. But they just have a layer, an extra layer of blubber attached to them. So that's a really easy way for me to remember. Like that happens, again, on the arm. And let me show you how it happens on the leg, too. It looks really cool, the way it happens on the leg. So you got your leg like this. Okay, so here's your leg. Here's your foot. Okay. So now once again, as the fat accumulates, right, it's going to be pulled down. Extra mass. Extra mass. And remember, just like the elbow, how it meets with the elbow, your kneecap is also going to sort of like do this thing where it like goes in and meets the kneecap. Okay, don't forget the fat that's gonna, again, accumulate down here as well. And you get something basically like this. You can still see your muscle mass. You can still see the mass of the leg and everything. But now it's just been enlarged and being pulled down by gravity. And that foot is just going to look like a robot foot. All right, now let's give him some sneakers. There you go. There you go, he's got some sneakers now. See? So there you go. I really think that this shape is one of the most important ones that you want to remember. It happens on the tricep area. It'll also happen on the bicep, right? But just the way it comes down and then meets with your joints. That is one of the most important things that I think you can do. Alrighty. I like it. Now, one of the last things that I want to explore with you guys real time is the back, the way that it affects the back. So I'll just very quickly sort of draw the back of a character with some fat on it, okay? Let's draw this girl here. So let's get the head, all right? We've got our head here. Now you want to remember, again, once you're at this point, you want to make sure you're drawing plenty of fat on the neck area because it's going to be, again, gradating out from the torso. And then you're going to do this. In fact, let's draw the more athletic body first, and then I'll add the fat onto it so you guys can see exactly how I do it. Okay? So we're going to have the athletic body, all right, like this. Okay, the usual comic book athletic body. And we're going to add the fat onto it. So you can see exactly how I do it. Okay. And again, I'm working with shapes. I'm not drawing stick figures. We don't work with stick figures. Anybody who teaches that to a beginning artist should be dragged out and shot and then sent to an exile island where nobody will ever see them again, even though they're dead. Okay, so anyway, so here's the basic idea of our body. Okay, so let's start adding on the fat to it. So we want to remember that our high priorities are going to be in the midsection. Okay, so let's say she has like some shorts on, right? So immediately we're gonna have a lot of fat like accumulating right here. Okay, a lot of fat is going to be accumulating and being pulled down right there. Okay, then we're gonna have the back muscles like this. Okay, see, I'm just adding onto it, adding right onto it. And it goes right up to the neck area. Okay, that looks good. Then we're gonna have basically what I talked about with the tricep, how it kind of bulges out and then meets with your elbow. Okay, so elbow's right here. We're gonna have that bulge of fat going like that. Shoulders like that. Coming down like that. And again, same thing. The bulge of the tricep meeting with our elbow. And then our forearm going down like that. Let's make sure we're getting this in there. Let's make sure to widen the face a little bit, right? All right. Bigger forearms. Bring it right on down. I like to capture like this little line basically that happens right here. Let's give her a nice big old bootay, right? Because we got some extra fat going on there. Extra fat in the hips, extra fat in the bootay. Don't want to forget that. And in our thighs. See, so it's actually not that hard. And I think it's actually really fun. It's really fun to draw fat on the body. Again, something that I haven't done that much. So, forgive my lack of experience, but I hope that this is teaching you guys something. And again, it all just comes from remembering our priorities. Priorities, and then making sure you don't... Because here's what you don't want to do, okay? You don't want to do this. You don't want to be like, okay, she's got a big old butt and then regular legs. See? Oh, and then a lot of fat in her calves. You see, that's not what you want to do. That looks out of proportion and it looks really wonky. So don't do that. You want to make sure that you're remembering this over here. So that way your fat will look proper. Oh, and another thing that's really important to consider is, you know, I'm drawing shorts on this girl, right? You notice how like at the ends of the shorts, you'll see like the skin is it's bulging out of it. And that's basically showing like the suppleness. See how it like goes in and then back out for like the butt? That's showing like the suppleness of the flesh. And it's another thing that's really important to show with when you're drawing fat on the body. And it's just good to show in general, like on any body. Yeah. So that's basically gonna be it. And then, yeah, you got that. Got that. I'm actually gonna skinny these up just a little bit. Because again, we don't want as much fat on the calves. Right? We got plenty in the hips, a lot in the midsection area. And then we got the back, right? And that, ladies and gentlemen, I think is going to wrap it up. So, and it sounds like we got a thunderstorm brewing outside. That's pretty interesting. So I hope that this has helped you out. I'm actually going to be uploading this onto my DeviantArt so you guys can check it out for yourself. And of course, the camera got all dark, but luckily I have this light for my face. So I hope this has helped you out, guys. Thanks again for joining me once again on YouTube for another awesome tutorial. Please thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. My name is Ken Lafferty. I'll see you guys on Thursday. Until then, take care.